G'day, hi and welcome. 8 o'clock in the morning is pretty dark for 8 o'clock in the morning. Not much of a morning view. It's very gray out there. But start my mornings. Okay, exhibit A. Don't see any signs of Marvin being here last night, so that's good. And it's voting day for my town. But it's gonna be one of those crunch days where my buddy and I are gonna finish up a client for the season. Well, for the regular stuff anyway. Gotta use my pole arm chainsaw for one branch today, I think. We'll see if I have time for that. And then all the other stuff. So we're gonna cut down the rest of the annuals. A lot of freaking lilies there, big lily patches. These are like three small lily patches, two small lily patches, and then a main flower bed that's, we'll say, maybe 20 or 30 feet long, and maybe at the widest spot, maybe 6 feet wide, and then at the average spot's probably about 3 feet wide. So that's not going to take us long. However, we got to probably use the tarps today. Yesterday we used the buggy. Things were too wet to pull on tarps. It's too heavy. So we'll do that. Cut the branch. Then head off to the school. And hopefully I'll be done before 5 o'clock so I can vote. I vote for my dad because he's counselor. I think I know who I'm going to vote for mayor. It's kind of one of those choices where I got two choices for mayor, and they're both, not much difference between the two of them per se, and neither is really a bad pick. So it's like, okay, well, we'll see. Then after that, I'm gonna come home, relax my bones a little bit, and then probably be doing some chainsaw and digging tomorrow. And then either Tuesday or Wednesday, if I'm not working, I got to call my client tonight for the beavers. So I'm either going to set my traps Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. If I set them Wednesday afternoon, maybe Thursday I'll have some beavers. I got to get set up for doing that. Yeah, that's not going to be a big deal. It takes me, like, the first beaver of the season takes me like 35, 40 minutes to skin, right? The second beaver is like 25. I can skin them faster, but I take my time because I don't want to rip up the fur. Like, I don't want to have to sew. Like, every hole you put in your pelt, they okay. You have to understand, when they make a fur coat, they cut the pelt into thousands of pieces and sew it all back together. That's why the coat's so plush, right? But the thing is that if you send them a pelt with just a little hole in it, oh, we gotta, deduct you for that. I gotta understand if you gash the crap out of the entire thing, but yeah, the idea is not to have to get out the sewing needle. Um, but if you do put a hole in the pelt, you do sew it. They don't take as much off because it's like, well, at least he took the time to sew it. But it's like you're still gonna cut it up in 1,000 pieces anyway. um, then after that, it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to get some string somewhere. I know I have some. No, I still have lots of string. I have to check my trapping pail there. I should have lots of string to tie up the legs, the holes for the beaver pelts. I got my beaver stretchers. I got to get more beaver stretcher stuff down. If I'm lucky, maybe next Tuesday, if I'm lucky, I'm going to be able to do the scrap metal run, get that done. Then after that, I've pretty much got everything ready for the winter. I got a little bit of wood to throw in and to clean the chimney, but other than that, I mean, it could make it this season without cleaning the chimney. But like, it's like I really like doing it every year for the peace of mind of it. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, because like we don't have like a cap on the top of our chimney. So the rain comes down and just basically, uh, you know, keeps the chimney clean. The downside to that is you can get a lot of corrosion in your chimney, right? So, fine advice to everything, right? So, um, yeah, so there's that to do. And then, like, this week coming, like Sunday right now, I'm making this video. So, this week coming is kind of like I'll hit the ground running for the start of the week because I've already worked Saturday, Sunday. I had last Thursday and Friday off, so it was a fairly full week last week, which quite amazing. The end of October, and I'm starting off November the proper way. But the problem is that any gains I make in November is probably like I still got to do Christmas shopping, stuff like that. So I'm not I do have petty cash set aside. It's just I don't know if I'm going to have enough petty cash to uh, do all my Christmas shopping without using the credit card. Right? I could use the credit card. I really don't want to. I'd like to stay debt free till March, and then in March, okay, run up the credit card to whatever I want. But I'm at that point where, and I've explained my financial strategy to people. If you're a very low on the totem economically, like I am, and the irony is, like, I'm making more money now per hour than I've ever made in my life. But the thing is the cost of living has went up so much that like our currency is devalued. From 1913 to say 1997, it lost about something like 90% of its value, right? Something like that. And then from 1997 to 2008, basically after 2008, your money was worth half, right? And then from 2008 to 2020, it's worth half again, and from 2020 to now, it's worth half again. So it's like the wealth is just being sucked out of the people, right? If you were making $30 an hour in 1913, you know how freaking rich you would have been? Like that was a week's pay for some people, maybe 2 or 3 hours. Like the average person might have made $200 a week at best. Like that was a good paying job. You know what I mean? Like $30 an hour. If you couldn't buy $30 of groceries because you didn't have enough house space to house all that grocery. I mean, a loaf of bread was like 5 cents. You know what I mean? Like, you know, get $10 worth of bread. It'd go bad before you could eat it all, right? Even though in the 1930s the grocery stores weren't like they were now. It's all like local shops and stuff like that. Yeah, but my strategy is if I work like yesterday, I made $140, right? I gave 10. Well, I made more than that. I made more than 60, but I gave $10 for gas to my buddy because he comes and picks me up in his truck and stuff like that. Like if people pick you up, give them gas money. Even if you're giving them more gas money than they actually are using burning gas, it's not about the amount. You know, like even $5 for gas would be, people would be happy with. It's the gesture, right? It's about the gesture because when you keep goodwill with people, they go to bat for you. They help you when you're down. Like I mean, not having a vehicle, I'm down. Like I've been down since May, June, whatever the freaking no. Yeah, I guess it was June when the car died. Yeah, so whenever my car died, anyway. So bottom line is that people don't mind helping me out. You know, like I'm good enough that I'm worth the effort. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people could say that. So that's and there's only what you gotta stay, stay within those realms. You know what I mean? Because it is a burden for people to come and get you. Like I'm not lost on that concept at all. Like I am one of those very independent people that do not like to ask for help unless they necessarily have to, right? But I'm also the type of person that like I know how quick, like just buying a quick vehicle, uh, I'll be looking for another vehicle in 5 months. You know what I mean? Like, or if that, right? So it's just like the last few vehicles I've had. Okay, they took me a long time to find each, except for the Dodge Avenger, because it was going to the scrapyard anyway. I'm like, well, I'll see if I can get another 3 months out of it. And I gave him enough money that what he would have got for the scrap, maybe a little bit more. But I got my money's worth out of that car. So I bought it knowing that it was, if I got a year out of it, I'd be like blown away. I figured, probably about 3 months left in this car. Hey guys, I assessed them pretty good. I'll probably get a year out of this one. I'll get a year out of that one. And yeah, usually I'm pretty much dead on. But when you buy cars that are that cheap, it's like, okay, when do you say what? Like I was starting to put money into the silver pellet. I mean, I bought the tires. That was a big one. Did the front brakes on it. How am I not dead? Like those brake pads. When I took that thing to town, guys, I tell you, the stop and go traffic, I was good getting into the town because it wasn't that the traffic was flowing. But as soon as it got stop and go traffic, I'd say maybe about three lights. Those the brakes were so hot, it was just like they must have been shiny. It was just metal on metal. It was just like it would just slowly come to a stop, and it's like, okay, I'm way too close to the guy ahead of me, so it's like I was like anticipating the light, like I was going, you got to keep with the pace of traffic, but I was letting like 3 or 4 car, like you can't let 3 or 4 car lengths ahead of you for stopping power, because even with bad brakes, because somebody squeezes in and they're like right in front of your bumper, so as soon as they squeeze in, you gotta let off again, get ready on the brake, and then okay, brake early, brake early, brake early. Okay, like one guy, I had to be like 6 inches behind his bumper. He was looking at it in the mirror at me like, "What's this asshole doing?" You know what I mean? It's like yeah, just. And then I was like, I was going through like Vanier Montreal Road, like the worst spot in the city too, right? Then I got onto Old St. Pat, and it's like it stayed flowing the whole way until I got onto Mackenzie, not Mackenzie, King Edward. Sorry, got onto King Edward, and then it was like, okay, and then I got past the first set of lights there, and it was like, okay, home free. Keep my foot off the brake for the next half hour. I bet you those brakes were like, you probably cook an egg on them. And it's only the front brakes, eh? The back brakes, I think the drums were completely worn out. So yeah. Yeah. So how am I that did? But anyway, yeah. So I brought home $140 yesterday. So I took 20 and I put it into the bicycle fund. 20, I put it into, which might switch into something else. I put 20 into the vehicle fund, 20 into the house fund. I have a house like emergency fund. If you have any sort of a house, if you're renting or whatever, like don't wait till something breaks and then, oh my God, I don't have the money to fix it. Just something's going to break. It's something is going to go. Put $20 away per day that you make money. Forget that you have that money. $20 for petty cash or credit card payment, same thing. Like even though I have no debt right now, I'm treating it as if I did. Of my, like if I could put a minimum of an extra $200 a month away, when I do need something, I have petty cash so that I can just buy it. Or if I have to put it on the credit card, I can pay off the credit card in one shot, right? So I treat it as if I still have that credit card payment anyway. You could also refer to that as savings, and then last rent, whatever's left over rent. So that's $100, and I put $40 into like rent and living expenses. Uh, and then usually what I'll do if I make a little bit more, I'll put 20 for me. But if you do that every day, you're putting like $100. Like any surplus money you put into your living expenses so you can get ahead. Right now, I'm about 2.5 months ahead on my living expenses. Of what I got saved up. Now, if I tap into the other vehicle funds and stuff like that, yeah, I'll get through the winter, but I really don't want to touch that money. So I'm at that point where uh, I'm still broke. I'm broke, but I have money that I can't touch, right? Because if I do, I'll be like, won't be able to pay my rent. Won't, like I'll really fall behind. So what I do is I just pretend I don't have any money. you know. And I put that money aside because it's already spoken for. You know what I mean? So, like just for like living expense savings, if I can make through November and cover my living expenses, it pushes that extra 2.5 months. But normally I need like 6 months ahead to really comfortably get through the winter. So I'm on. Like it's November. It's like Hail Mary. Can I, get enough work to cover my living expenses at least for November and December, right? If I can do that, then like December is going to hit me hard because A, Christmas, B, my hydro bill is going to be due, so I'll find out just how much damage that is. My dad's like, he's like, so did you get your hydro bill yet? I said, no, because he wants to know. Like, right, remember, like his just went up a lot because my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nephew are now living with us, right? And again, they're not. There's lights on all the time, like with them, right? So like there's going to be a spike in the hydro, but I mean, obviously, my brother's paying his way too. So like everybody's chipping out. So the idea is to make it as easy on my dad as possible, right? And we're all enjoying it. Like we all sit down for supper. People need to do that more. Um, like when my mom was around, God rest her. Uh, we didn't sit at the supper table, but we watched TV while we were eating or whatever, and that was kind of the same. Uh, but when we were younger, like when I was a teenager, we always sat at the table, and like like I sit beside my nephew, or my nephew sits on the end, and I sit here, and I always like joke around with my nephew at the table. So it's such a great experience. Like guys, start get the kids, no, you're not going to eat in your room. Get down here, sit at the table, do the dishes together. Like my brother and I do the dishes together. My nephew and I do the dishes together. Stuff like that. My sister-in-law cooks up a storm. So like everybody kind of chips in. Everybody kind of does that. Their behavior is correcting a little bit. So because like I say, my dad and I won't allow the dirty house, right? I know I got junk all over the stuff. I brought motorcycle parts down today, so yeah. So as soon as I get like a couple of days off, yeah, I'm gonna clean this place spick and span. I get the damn shop back down here so I can really like. That's why I haven't put all that stuff away because I don't want to put it all into the closet, have to pull it all out of the closet, vacuum the closet, put it all back in. It's like just do it once, right? Uh, and then I got to go through every single thing I own to see, okay, I'm going to start making a pile of, yes, this is going to go for sale. This is going to get thrown out. No, I'm keeping this. I'm taking this to my grave, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I've got a financial strategy that is working. And one day what happens, and this has happened to me a couple of times in my life where it's like I'm broke. And all of a sudden one day it's like, oh, I've actually got extra money, like beyond the savings. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I got a few grand. If you look at it, I got a few grand that's spoken for. Like I mean, I got about 3 to 4 grand for a car, right? And that's all in. That's insurance and everything, right? So okay, no problem. And then like I say, I've got the emergency house fund stuff, hot water tank. It's probably well, it probably just needs a switch, but it could be like usually a hot water tank you get about 10, 15 years out of them, and then they start to lose their luster, we'll say. And I'm sure that thing's probably older than me, so well, maybe not that old, but the things go right. And it's like a vehicle. When something breaks, it's $500 minimum. Like there's never like, oh, a $30 item broke. Like it's always like $500 with me. But when I get a vehicle, it's usually at the point where that's when it's worn out, right? So yeah, so finding a good vehicle is going to wipe me out economically, like the truck did. But the difference now is that I'm not putting all my money. Like if I pulled every cent I had and went out and bought a vehicle, yeah, I could get a pretty darn good vehicle, but I'd have no buffer zone whatsoever. none. And that's what happened when I bought Thunder, the blue Dodge there, the '06. Um, is I spent every cent. I think I had something like $8 to my name after I bought the truck, and it was just like right at the time. It was in October when I had bought it, and it was right when the work was like it was bought. The truck was bought and paid for, and all that, and then add the insurance and everything like that. It was that like it was $800, right? Like for the insurance. Right as the work died off, and that season it was like an early fall, like an early winter, um, in a really late spring. So I was like struggling so much. Middle of June, I remember I was going to buy that trailer, the 5x10 trailer, from my buddy, and it's like we brought it up home and whatever, and I started putting metal in it, and I was getting ready to do the scrap run, and it was just like like I'd given them all the money I'd made up to that point, and I think I had about half paid off, and I was just like I had nothing, like no money whatsoever, like nothing in the bank accounts. I think I had like maybe, like I say, $8 in the bank account, enough to keep the bank accounts open, that kind of thing, right? And it was just like, okay, I'm in trouble. You guys, if you followed the channel at that time, you remember me bitching about, oh my god, like I've got no money, barely had enough money to put gas in the truck, and then it was just like like that. It was like July, August, before like the money started really coming in, and I got lucky that year, except for in November the truck broke down, and that was it for the truck. But I got lucky, and I ended up with a silver pellet like about a month later. And then I was also lucky that I got enough work through the winter that I wasn't good. Like I didn't have any savings. I actually just made enough money to pay my living expenses through the winter, which made it easier for the little savings I did have in the following season, which then brings us into 2024 or whatever. And then that year was just kind of like a crazy year. Got me ahead enough that I still have some of the savings from that. That's what the vehicle fund is made of. Well, the vehicle fund is made up of my because I made enough money to actually pay my taxes, and I got a whole bunch of shit ton of money back. And I just got, I don't know, I guess back held GST checks. I just got another like $400 in GST checks, from the past couple of years, right? So, as these checks come in, it's just like, oh, well, now it's like, okay, I don't have enough money to do this. Oh, wait a minute, I can do this with that money. Like, who knows? Maybe if I get lucky, if they send me a couple more checks, that'd be nice. I could go get that backpack blower. You know what I mean? And I think I spent, like, what did I spend on tools this year? $1,100, $1,600. I spent almost $2,000 on extra tools this year, right? So that took up a lot of my money. But the thing is it's stuff that, okay, well, you're investing in your own business, so that you can't go wrong there. My tool, like my brush cutter, I'm about half paid. Well, it's already paid for itself about 1.5 times, right? My pole arm saw, I've only used it a couple of jobs, and it's almost half paid. If I use it again today, it'll be a little over half paid for itself. That one's going to be the slowest to pay for itself, but it's paying for itself much quicker than I thought, because it's like it's kind of like once you have these tools, it's like, oh, well, I can do this now. Oh, well, I can do that now. The chainsaws have already paid for themselves. I don't think they've paid for themselves twice, but probably about 1.5 times. So if you think about, okay, I bought it last year. Chainsaws I bought last November. It's now November. And that's a year, okay? And in that year, it paid for itself once, Okay, that's $2,000, $2,001 and whatever cents. That's exactly what I paid for all that equipment. Okay, and now it's just like like if it pays for itself once every year till the year till I retire, that's pretty good. But I have a hunch that the chainsawing stuff is going to pick up a little bit more too, as people like they know I do it, right? And it's like a pole arm chainsaw. Like once people know you have it, they're like, oh, like at first they're like, oh, okay, well that's nice if you have it, great, no problem. But then as soon as you start lopping branches off and they see what it can do, they're, oh well, this way, here, this one, this way. I said, just get ribbons out, just start marking stuff, you know. So I have no doubt that those tools are gonna pay for themselves at least 100 times to 200 times for their lifespan. So like my whippersnippers have probably paid for themselves. Well, probably 1,000 times, in the last past 3 years. You know what I mean? Like when you think about it, yeah, okay, $200, and then what do I make in a year? Okay, well I make that. Well, okay, maybe not 200 times, but a lot. Like it's just like okay, they pay for themselves almost every 2 days. You know what I mean? Like that's why like just go out and buy new. Like just buy stuff that's headache free. Like it takes a while to recoup, but because it lasts so long, functioning properly, that by the time it is no longer usable, you've already got enough to just walk out and buy another saw, right? Like I'd like to be able to buy the next chainsaw cash if I can, because I can go into the shop. So like, because I could walk into the shop and just buy it, right? So unless I have to mail order something, I won't use my credit card, right? So, but yeah, like I'd be nice, like if I could get that backpack blower before Christmas, that's only if I had the extra funds. The priority right now is any extra money is to get me through the winter, right? So, because I don't know, like I know I got today. I had today and yesterday. That's starting off November, an extra 2 days. Okay, I know I have at least 4 days of work with one client for sure because she doesn't leave until about December, middle of December. And then the other client, it's kind of till the snow flies. So I don't think I have full days, but I could have a possibility of 4 more work days with her. I've got the beaver trapping thing, but that's not really going to pay until like near the end of the season, So like for example, like I'll send the furs up for March. I have to look at the pickup time. I might send them up earlier, but it's usually the second auction that I prefer to send things up, not the first auction. There's usually 2 big auctions in Finland. For the furs harvester auctions. It's the largest fur auction in the world. Is in Helsinki, Finland, and I'd love to go see it. Like it'd be interesting just to see. But I'd like to go see the one up in North Bay as well. Like everybody that I've ever talked. My dad went and saw the trapping trade show years and years ago, and I remember he really enjoyed it. That was back in like the early 1980s. And then everybody I talked, oh yeah, what is Reg? You gotta go. You'll really love it. You know what I mean? Just stay for one night, and stay over there one night, and see the trade show, stuff like that. That'd be cool. It'd be cool, right? I'd love to go see that. But yeah, it's the second auction is the June auction is the April auction is where you make the money, and then you get paid around June sometime, whatever you made off your furs, right? So it takes a while for them to cut all the checks, right? So you're doing work in basically October to say I'll go October or now November till Well, the trapping season is from October 18th to March 31st for most things, right? So that's your time frame. So for me, I'll be putting my traps out in November, probably going to maybe max middle of December, and then call it a season, right? It's like how hard do I want to work at it, right? So I'm not doing the hard work on this one. It's just kind of put the traps. This is where the beavers are. Once I catch my beavers until like there's no beavers going in, okay, I'll pull the traps and then call it a season. So if I catch 5 beavers, great. Now, like I told him, I said it's a yearly thing. Like you're not going to just you caught the beavers and they're never coming back again. As soon as you catch those beavers, new ones are going to come in, right? So you monitor it, whatever. Like I could make a good winter harvesting beavers and stuff like that, but the problem is that to make it worthwhile, you have to charge the client. So I'm charging $30 an hour. There's right off the top, it's $40 for the license. So they're going to pay for the license. I don't make any money on that. It's just the license. Okay, maybe I make $3 on it or something like that because license is $36, but I'll just charge them 40. You know what I mean? We're not going to get out the calculator here. It's just okay. I'll keep a rough track of my time, and okay, it'll be 30 an hour. So maybe I go. We check the traps, and okay, every time I go check the traps, it's like I'm there 10 minutes. Okay, so you go there 6 times, it's an hour. Okay, there's $30. But that will include my traveling to and from, unless somebody's picking me up. So, I'm trying to make it as fair as possible, but I do have to make money. So let's say I rack up, say, 9 hours or 10 hours of time between now and then. I don't think it's going to take me that long. But if there's beavers in it every single time, it might take me 15 minutes to reset the traps, etc., etc. Some traps might get damaged. I got to fix up the other traps. I got to find the freaking chaos of moving, right? I haven't had, my next day off, I'm going to make an extra effort to see if I can find the freaking bag with the extra triggers and stuff in, I can get them up at Pro Nature. But once I get those parts, then I can get the other traps going, then do a blitzkrieg, then I'll have 7 conibears out. That'll be perfect. I wouldn't mind buying an extra, like for me to invest in a dozen traps doesn't make sense, and I'll tell you why. I'm just not going to make enough off. I can't just, okay, I went out and bought a dozen traps, now you owe me this. I can't do that, right? But there is wear and tear on the traps, but that's what the $30 an hour is. Really, I'm taking $25 an hour, and $5 per that $30 an hour is wear and tear on the traps. That's the way my chainsaw is. It's $35 an hour. That $5 is fuel, chainsaw oil, wear and tear on the chain, chainsaw files, etc., etc. Because like people don't consider that. Like my buddy, he goes, does a job for somebody right off the bat. It's $35 for the truck for the first hour. So the first hour you might be making $60 an hour or $65 an hour. Then every hour after that, if the vehicle is moving, you got to charge for wear and tear and fuel for that vehicle. If it's a chainsaw, whatever. So I always charge people a little bit more for that stuff. But that's how I'm able to afford the tools, is that I don't just do the cheapest. Like all these guys that always go to be as cheap as possible. Yeah, well, I'll undercut this guy. I'll work for $15 an hour, and I won't charge you for the fuel, and I won't charge you for the wear and tear on the saw or the vehicle or whatever. And then I'm broke all the time. Like I'm charging people adequately, and I'm broke all the time. So if you're not, you're really broke if you're not doing that. Right. It's just you got to run it like a business, right? So if I do, the word's going to get around really quickly that, hey, this guy does trapping, right? The problem is that I only have 3 functioning traps, right? So I just haven't gotten around to fixing up the other traps, But if there was, like, say, 10 other people saying, yeah, can you come and have a look at, here? And I could say, let's say I catch 100 beavers for the season at $5 a piece, at the auction. Okay, well that's a lot of work for $5 a beaver. You know what I mean? But let's say I charge everybody $10 a beaver. Now I'm up to $15 minimum per beaver. Okay, so that would say it'd be like making 50. It takes me about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to deal with just about any size beaver. Because I usually do like 2 fleshings, sometimes 3. Depends how greasy the beaver is. If it's really mild when I'm fleshing them, they tend to get really greasy, and I tend to, once there's a certain amount of grease level coming out of the pelt, I tend to put it back in the freezer, or freeze them up, and then thaw them out the next day. And usually within 2 or 3 fleshings, I can do it. Sometimes you're lucky and you can get it all done in one shot. So from start to finish, you got the beaver on the bench to it's all now stretched and ready to dry. If you could do it all under 40 minutes per beaver, and if you could make a minimum of the like $25 at the auction per beaver, then you're getting $25 an hour, so to speak. You know what I mean? Give or take. That's not so bad, right? But it's not great. But if the fur prices go up like they were in 2014, and you're getting $108 a beaver pelt, and minimum 45, like I've had a couple of really prime pelts and extra large pelts. Like I caught a beaver that was 84 pounds, and it was a prime pelt. Like that one was, I think I think I got 124 for that one. That was worth my time. You know what I mean? And then I remember the first beaver I did in a long time. It was a disaster what happened with that one. But now that I got it, it's ingrained in my memory. I've done so many beavers that, it's ingrained in my memory how to do it without making a mess. Your first beavers is a nightmare. I think my first beaver I did after like it was 2014, and then I didn't trap after that for like quite a few years. And I think it was 2018 again. I started trapping. For some reason, it was really cold out. Number one, I started the beaver, and start to finish was like 6 hours into them. I'm like, that can't be, I'm like, and it was just because I tried something different, and it came down to a couple of cuts that I just kind of screwed up. It's like, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And then once I figured out what I was doing wrong, I was like, oh. And then the beaver after that was like 22 minutes. It's like, okay, yeah. Yeah. So, but no, you get it done a certain way, and once you do that, it's like like you can get efficient at it enough that. If you're charging $10 per beaver right off the bat, plus your hourly wage, suddenly that $5 beaver, even before it goes to the auction, let's say after the auction, let's say you get $5 a beaver pelt. Like, like either the prices have dropped that much, or people are sending some. When you see those videos of guys like skinning the beavers in 2 minutes, that type of thing. Yeah, those are the $5 beavers because they put like fucking 80 holes in them. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you actually have to take a little time on stuff, right? Like anybody that's watched any of my beaver trapping videos, you'll notice that 90% of the beaver is skinned with my hands. He's going like this. Why? Because I don't want to use knives. I don't want to use pointy objects. I don't want to use the beaver knife because that thing's like a razor, right? It's not pointy, but it cuts. So I only use it where I have to use it. The rest is pull the arms through, stuff like that, and it's just kind of like, even if I have to go back and watch some of my old videos as a refresher, I'm telling you. And a lot of things why people like my videos was that everything stayed in real time. So you don't just see it's like this guy's been going at it for 15 minutes now. He's making part 2 video, and he's going at it for another couple of minutes. It's like, oh, okay, so it takes some time to do these freaking, it's some time. It's some time to do it. The worst is otters. Otters, if you're taking up trapping and the first thing you catch is an otter, that will probably, number one, the stinky smell of the little buggers. They stink like rotten fish, right? So they're extremely oily. Um, but they are the toughest animal, even if you catch them fresh. It's like, okay, rigor mortis hasn't even set in yet, and you got him, you rush him home, and you start skinning them. And the first thing you realize is how hard they are. Like, you fight for every inch of an otter. It's the most, like, it's like, when they were worth like a lot, now, like, I mean, my average otters in 2014 were like 85, 65, 85, 115. I had one otter, I think that was around 150, but I caught him like dead of January with the thickest pelt, and he was big. Yeah, he was like Godzilla weasels, as I call them. I love otters; they're so cute, but like they were worth a lot of money. And then after that is like $25, $45. Something that you're going to spend at least an hour to an hour and a half skinning. You know what I mean? For $45, you know what I mean? It's not quite worth it, right? And then fleshing them, you're going to put about 2.5 to 3 hours work into an otter. Easy, right? Muskrat, okay, muskrats are the best because, especially when the Chinese were buying all those muskrat pelts for the military. So it's like $3 muskrat. Like right now, I think the average muskrat is like something like 97 cents. Like, okay, but you could do from start to finish 15 minutes in your 11 to 15 minutes. It was an average muskrat. Like you like easiest thing to ever skin, right? And deal with the easiest thing to ever flesh. So if you're lucky, the first animal you trap is a muskrat. Like, but now I was getting like $14 to $18, $9 average for a muskrat. But it's like now the frenzy's done, so it's like the prices have dropped. Like fur prices have dropped so much. I don't even know if there's going to be a fur auction in say 10 years. Just people are moving away from fur. There's so many alternatives. And it's not even the animal rights thing. It's just the cost thing, right? Like synthetics are cheaper than furs, but utility fur is probably already going to be a thing for a good while yet. But those are usually ranch furs that you can't compete with anyway. So wild fur competing with ranch fur is, kind of one of those things where it's just like, good luck with that. You know what I mean? But then again, I can't remember the name of the fur. The American fur auction. Like we have fur harvesters auction up here in Canada. They're out of North Bay and Northwest Territories, so predominantly in that area. But they're still up and going. But what happened was in 2019, 2020, 2021, real bad years for trapping. I remember that auction was just horrible. It was like, I made like $116 on like 15 furs, and these were nice furs. Yeah, like that was just So it's like for me to trap, it's kind of like the American auction house, they went bankrupt because they invested into like mink farms and fox farms, and Fouks as well, and they all went up belly up, right? Bad investment. So the only auction house left is the stuff over in Europe, and then what we have, for harvesters auction, and Americans send to that. Now, the problem there is now there's tariffs, right? So I don't know how that works with the furs, because like furs are a funny thing. Just to try, like I can take a fur and bring it to the fur harvesters auction location, give it to the guy. He takes it, and he can take it all around Canada, wherever it has to go, right? Because he has the exporter's license for furs. Because furs are heavily regulated. A lot of people don't realize that. They're extremely heavily regulated. But for somebody to go, say, just from Ontario to Quebec, or Quebec to Ontario, or to or Manitoba or wherever, you need special permits to be able to deliver those furs, right? So, and I understand, like it's it's a crackdown on poaching and shit like that. So I agree with it. I know it's a regulation that some people, oh, it's too many regulations. Sometimes we need some regulations, and anything that because the problem is that you get like trapping, like you could get more jail time breaking trapping laws than you can probably breaking like regular, like like if you steal from your neighbor, right? The cops might show up and okay, well, here's your court date, and you get a fine, and you might go to jail or whatever, right? You break a trapping law, you can go to jail like instantly, like for 10 years. Like I kid you not, like why? Because once you have the game laws, guys, park rangers, game law officers, game wardens, involved. It's like they're more so specialized that like if they catch you like say illegally fishing, right? They could seize your $20,000 boat, truck, everything, your entire rig. Yeah, as proceeds of crime. They could do it right on the spot. You will not get that back. And you get like a $25,000 fine for catching an illegal fish. They up to like I mean like they drop the hammer like you wouldn't freaking believe, right? So. I mean, most people they don't do that too, but they can, right? So it is what it is. So you want to stay within the regulations as much as possible. And I do everything legally when it comes to trapping. Like I don't have any inclinations to cheat the system. You know what I mean? Like because there's no point. Like I'm doing this as a service, which changes the game. Because when you trap, hobby trap, okay, some people do it just because they like to do it and they got nothing to do in the winter. Maybe they're retired, whatever. Okay. And maybe they take up taxidermy, I don't know, whatever. Okay, fine. But if you're doing it to make money like the guys up in like Northwest Territories, I feel bad for them because the fur prices are so bad right now. Like, I remember I used to watch this one trapping guy, an Inuit guy, and like it was interesting to watch like the stuff he was getting. We were conversing a little bit over our trapping seasons on my last channel there. I can't think of the guy's name for the life of me right now. But anyway, yeah, like he would go up into his camp. He was there all winter. He had he had two snowmobiles that were in like reg vehicle quality. So like he like buy like something like if you guys know my stance on snowmobiles. Yeah, even Andrew knows my stance on snowmobiles, right? And like if you were to visualize what kind of snowmobile would Reg have, yeah, how fucked up would it be, right? It'd have like one ski going like this, be impossible to start on even on the warm days. Be flames backfiring through the car, burning my shirt, all that, right? The track would be completely worn out. The sliders would be fucking coming off the rail. Yeah, yeah. It'd be a proper Reg. Well, that's what that guy had. Yeah, like, and it's just like it was a fight every time. And then when of course, when his snowmobiles would break down, he'd be miles from home, and then he had to do the run by foot with a sleigh, and it'd take him like 2 hours or whatever. But he was catching like wolverines and stuff like that, and I think he got like $1,000 for one of them. Made his season, right? But he was more like flatland trapping rather than. I don't think he had that many beaver. Like it wasn't that he didn't seem to have a lot of beaver. It was more like coyotes and lynx and wolverines that he was after. And bobcats. Well, I don't know if he had bobcats up there. I know he had lynx. I know he caught a couple of lynx, wolves, stuff like that. But even like here, like I got a ton of wolves and coyotes, but they're not worth anything. The States is just saturated with coyotes, right? And then you got these hybrid coyotes. They call them a coy wolf, red wolf, same thing. People will debate it, but they're the same thing. The DNA says so. But what ends up happening is they're not worth anything, right? So if I'm going after wolves, it's mainly just for conservation, not for money. And they're so damn hard to catch anyway. Like if you can catch a wolf, you can catch anything. Like to trick those things is like you catch them on the impulse of them scared away from something. That's it. And you have to have it set up so that you can trigger that, right? So you have a foot trap hidden in the center around the bait, and they're digging around the bait. They'll smell the trap. They know it's there. They just don't know what it is, right? And one won't care, and his hind leg or something gets caught in it. And a rear leg capture is like the ultimate perfect capture because the animal doesn't struggle as much. On the front leg, he'll pull and pull and pull, right? And then you have your snares set up around this zone. All the rest of the wolves, they see his buddy got cut, they just take off running, they see the exit, and they just run through it, and that's where you have your snare. So they don't have, by the time they smell the snare, their head's already through it, and then they're snagged, and then they break whatever off, and then you have that chain to a drag pole, and then they get binded up on something, and it gets them, right? The active snares will kill them even quicker. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like if you get an article, yeah, you can make mega money on those, but there's so few of them caught that like that's why the prices are so high, right? Like maybe if they catch 100 of them a year, if that. Like wolves, like okay, give you an idea. Like the wolves, you get all these animal activist types and stuff like that. They have no idea what the trapping's about at all. Because like most of the anti-trapping videos you see are like PETA videos, and they're like, I could just tell by the way that the trap is on the animal that a trapper didn't do that. That animal was intentionally harmed by an activist. I could just tell by the way the thing's set, right? And the thing is that when I see those videos, it's like, that's why I did my Trapping 101 series, is to educate people so that when you see that, hey, Reg caught a beaver, that thing was killed almost instantly, and if it wasn't killed instantly, it was knocked out right away, and I could tell by the lack of its struggle that it died really quickly. Oh, how did he set his trap so that you got a clean kill like that? Like, some of these animals die faster in the trap than shooting them. You know what I mean? Like you can shoot them in the head and they'll take more time to die than catching them in a 330 conibear. That's why I'm such a big fan of the 330 conibear. In fact, I think all foothold traps should be, like for drowning sets and stuff like that, get rid of all that, just conibears. You don't need anything. Like you're not going to get a better setup than a conibear. And the foothold traps are not that much cheaper anyway. So like for mink and stuff like that, like muskrat and mink, or otters or whatever, I'd rather ban drowning sets and just have pure like kill to capture set. That I think is the most humane you can go. There's no reason why not. Because the animal, like again, when you catch it and it didn't suffer, by the time it realized it was dead, it was already dead for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? That's exactly what you want, But yeah, so the fur prices drop out. The guys up north that rely on it as an income, like in 2014, they were, they could actually maybe, if they did really good, maybe not make a year's income out of it, but they could probably did pretty well. I remember there was this guy in Florida catching beavers down there, and he'd catching like 1,200 beavers a year, that kind of thing. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And he was like skinning them in like 2 minutes a piece, But like, okay, that's great and dandy and all, but did you really make any money off those pelts that you put a million holes in, right? And those beavers, those like southern beavers are not worth hardly anything because their pelts are too scraggly. Like they're scragglier than a groundhog because the beavers need that really cold air to get that guard hair to come up. So like the northern beavers up here in Canada, or maybe even say Minnesota, like a Minnesota winter or something like that, Montana, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, like they get enough of a cold winter, but even at that, their winters are usually not quite as cold as like here. The more north you go, the better the pelts get, right? That's why a lot of the pelts are broken up by region. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. My buddy should be here fairly soon. I don't know if he's gonna, because yesterday was a time change, and I don't know if I didn't change my clock back yet. So technically, it's only 8 o'clock, even though it says it's 9 o'clock. So I don't know if he's going to actually come an hour later. So if so, whatever. I'll just make videos till then. But yeah, I thought I'd have an interesting conversation on that. So anyway, there was so much other things I wanted to talk about, but we'll go with that.